3 alien armadas, 30 billion soldiers, all destroyed in 72 hours by a species that hadn't even left their home system a century ago. Galactic Empire's greatest generals are asking one terrifying question. How did humanity do the impossible? And humanity had been the galaxy's newest charity case for exactly 93 years. When Earth finally achieved faster-than-light travel, the ancient Galactic Empire welcomed them with the same enthusiasm reserved for a stray pet, cute, harmless, and utterly insignificant. The Zephyrians had ruled for 12,000 years. Their crystalline cities spanned entire star systems, their fleets numbered in the millions, and their military academies had perfected warfare before humans discovered fire. Next to them stood the Karathi hegemony, masters of biological warfare, who could engineer plagues that targeted specific DNA sequences. Then came the Nexari, cybernetic beings whose computational power exceeded entire human civilizations. Earth's colonies were pathetic by comparison. New Geneva housed barely 2 million souls. Mars Station looked like a construction site next to alien megastructures. Humanity's entire fleet consisted of 300 ships, most of them converted cargo vessels with hastily mounted weapons. The Empire tolerated this cosmic embarrassment because humans served a purpose. They were excellent miners, surprisingly creative engineers, and their stubborn refusal to quit made them useful for dangerous jobs other species avoided. Humans were the galaxy's janitors, mechanics, and cannon fodder. But something was shifting in the Empire's inner circles. Ancient senators whispered about humanity's concerning population growth. Their colonies were spreading faster than predicted. Worse, human traders were establishing independent supply chains, bypassing traditional alien monopolies. Some even dared to refuse imperial work contracts. The Galactic Senate was growing nervous. A species this young shouldn't be this persistent. Perhaps it was time to remind humanity of their proper place in the cosmic order. After all, what could these primitive newcomers possibly do against civilizations that had conquered galaxies? The first blow came disguised as bureaucracy. Imperial Trade Decree 2847 suddenly required safety inspections for all human vessels. Ships that had operated flawlessly for decades were grounded for structural concerns. Inspection teams arrived months late, demanding bribes that bankrupted small human trading companies. Appeals vanished into administrative black holes. Within 6 months, humanity's interstellar commerce collapsed. Families on frontier colonies began rationing food. Children on New Geneva went to bed hungry while alien freighters loaded with supplies sat in orbit, waiting for proper documentation that never came. But humans didn't starve quietly like other species might. They adapted. Colonial engineers began retrofitting mining equipment into makeshift factories. Farmers converted hydroponics bays into manufacturing centers. Instead of importing alien technology, humans started building their own, crude, inefficient, but functional alternatives that bypassed imperial supply chains entirely. The Empire's response was swift and merciless. The Technological Restriction Act banned humans from developing advanced systems without alien supervision. Human patents were invalidated. Research facilities were shut down for safety violations. Entire universities were closed overnight. The message was clear: stay primitive, stay dependent, stay in your place. Most species would have submitted. The Yalari had folded after similar treatment. The Sectani begged for mercy when their trade routes were severed. Even the proud Veltar ultimately accepted imperial dominance rather than face extinction. Humans chose a different path. When alien administrators arrived to oversee approved research projects, they found empty laboratories. Human scientists had simply vanished, taking their work with them. Colonial governors reported increasing incidents of equipment malfunction whenever imperial inspectors visited. Supply convoys experienced mysterious delays, mechanical failures, and communication blackouts. The aliens dismissed these events as incompetence. After all, humans were primitives barely capable of maintaining their own technology. What they didn't realize was that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't advanced engineering or superior firepower. It was something no alien civilization had ever truly possessed. Spite. Pure, stubborn, absolutely irrational spite. The Empire congratulated itself on successfully containing the human problem. Something extraordinary was happening in the shadows of forgotten asteroid belts and abandoned mining stations. Human colonies weren't just surviving, they were evolving. Underground networks shared resources, information, and most importantly, rage. The Empire had made a fundamental miscalculation. They assumed humans would break like other species when faced with systematic oppression. Instead, they had created something far more dangerous, a species with nothing left to lose and everything to prove. Late-night communications buzzed between human settlements. Engineers shared blueprints for weapons that didn't exist in any Imperial database. Miners discovered that their excavation techniques could be applied to very different kinds of digging. Farmers learned that the same skills used to nurture crops could cultivate much deadlier harvests. The Galactic Senate received reports of increasing minor incidents in human space. Communications blackouts, patrol ships going offline, supply depots experiencing accidents. They dismissed these as the death throes of a dying species. They were wrong. These weren't signs of collapse. They were preparation for war. The humans were about to teach the galaxy a lesson that would echo through the stars for millennia. Never corner a species that has learned to thrive in hell. Depression. Fleet launched with 3 massive armadas, a show of force designed to crush human resistance once and for all. Admiral Karath commanded the largest military operation in Imperial history, 30 billion soldiers across 10,000 warships, supported by planet-cracking weapons that could sterilize entire solar systems. Their target was simple: every human colony, every outpost, every sign of mankind's stubborn existence. The fleet moved with confidence born of 12 millennia of unopposed dominance. Alien commanders shared victory toasts as they approached human space, joking about how quickly this pest control operation would end. Some wagered whether humanity would last 6 hours or 12. Then the attacks began, not where the aliens expected, not from humanity's pathetic 300 ships or their ramshackle defense platforms. The strikes came from everywhere and nowhere. Asteroid mining charges detonated inside alien hulls with surgical precision. Supply convoys carrying fuel suddenly found their cargo holds filled with explosive gas instead of deuterium. Entire squadrons lost life support when their atmospheric processors began generating chlorine instead of oxygen. But the true horror wasn't the sabotage. It was the realization of how long it had been planned. Every human janitor aboard alien ships knew exactly which systems to target. Every maintenance worker had spent years mapping vulnerabilities. Every cargo handler understood precisely when and where to strike. Humanity hadn't just been surviving in the Empire's shadow. They had been learning, planning, and infiltrating every level of alien society. Admiral Karath watched his massive fleet tear itself apart from within as human sleeper agents activated across thousands of ships simultaneously. Decades of stupid, harmless humans performing menial labor had given them access to everything: weapon systems, navigation computers, life support networks, even the Admiral's own command codes. The aliens' greatest strength became their fatal weakness. Their arrogance had blinded them to the most obvious truth. When you treat an entire species as servants, you give them the keys to everything you own. Within 72 hours, the most powerful military force in galactic history was space debris. Not destroyed by superior technology or overwhelming numbers, but by janitors, mechanics, and miners who had spent a century being underestimated, dismissed, and humiliated. As Admiral Karath's flagship vented atmosphere into the void, his final transmission crackled across Imperial frequencies. They were inside our ships, inside our cities, inside everything. How long have they been planning this? The answer was simple. From the very first day, aliens had called them primitive. Humanity had been playing a game the Empire didn't even know existed, and they had already won. Within a month, the Galactic Empire ceased to exist. Not through conquest or invasion, but through the simple fact that humans controlled every critical system across thousands of worlds. Food distribution networks, power grids, communication arrays, defense platforms, all operated by the primitive servants aliens had dismissed for nearly a century. The reversal was absolute. Species that had ruled for millennia found themselves dependent on human mercy for basic survival. The mighty Zephyrians discovered their crystalline cities couldn't function without human engineers. The Karathi learned their biological weapons were useless when humans controlled the atmospheric processors that kept their homeworld habitable. The cybernetic Nexari realized their vast computational networks meant nothing when humans held the power switches. But humanity's victory wasn't built on revenge. It was founded on something far more terrifying to their former oppressors: Competence. The same species aliens had dismissed as barely capable of maintaining cargo ships now efficiently managed galactic infrastructure better than the Empire ever had. Trade routes that had stagnated under bureaucracy suddenly thrived. Colonies that had been starved by administrative neglect became prosperous hubs of innovation. The galaxy's new rulers didn't demand submission or tribute. They simply worked, built, and improved everything they touched with the same stubborn persistence that had once been mocked as primitive. Determination. Ancient alien civilizations learned too late that they had committed the ultimate strategic error. They had confused humility with weakness, service with servitude, and patience with stupidity. Humanity's greatest weapon had never been technology or numbers. It was their absolute refusal to accept that anything was impossible. The galaxy finally understood why no army could survive against human strategy. It wasn't because humans were better fighters. It was because they were better humans. After all, what chance does arrogance have against a species that spent a century learning how to turn being underestimated into the ultimate advantage?